Welcome, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock Mountain Time. It's 9 o'clock for Raul and all of those of you that are on the East Coast time. But that means it's That's Cool Drink. Tonight's going to be absolutely super awesome. I've got on the brink of a snowstorm Raul Torres down in Georgia. He's the owner of South Georgia Motorsports Park. He is currently looking for anyone wanting some smoke, doing some sledding down the hill at South Georgia Motorsports Park on the far side of the bleachers that you see out there at South Georgia Motorsports Park. The signature blue and green bleachers out there. So he, like I said, he's ready. He's looking for folks that are looking to do a little bit of sledding out there because they are looking about down the barrel of needing to get in some snow, which is going to be fun. Neil, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in we're getting ready to do that Mega Week deal. That's going to be crazy. So super awesome. And Danny, welcome back, my friend. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Tonight's going to be absolutely awesome. Again, South Georgia Motorsports Park. Raul, his whole family, we'll get into it a little bit, but Raul used to be a no-time racer. Oh, and Dash, dude. Hey. He used to be a no-time racer. And a car that he used to pilot is actually on a Mod Motor Mustangs t-shirt. So I, in honor of that, I'm wearing the Triple M hat. Of course, that's Justin Young's deal. He, of course, does the Mod Nationals, which is making its trek back to South Georgia Motorsports Park October 16th through 19th. And yours truly will be behind the microphone on that deal. Also, super stoked. My next two gigs are going to be SGMP centric. I will be, of course, at Sick Week, starts and finishes at SGMP in Georgia there. We're going to talk about how much awesomeness that's going to bring to the local area around there, and really kind of push that love out to the area. So that's going to be super awesome. Of course, the Drag and Drive people are my people. And then a little shout out to the NMRA world. Raul just brought me on for the Spring Break Nationals. That was a super cool deal. I can't believe that I get to do this race. It's super cool. Raul kind of came around with some of the old NMRA world, and of course those guys, NMRA and MCA, unfortunately couldn't make it for this year. So a bunch of stuff happening, and Raul pulled it out and got the Spring Break Ford Nationals coming up. Vengeance Clutch on board for that one. You see all the All American Coding, UPR, all the names behind the names with all the stuff that makes this stuff happen. So that's going to be an absolute blast to be at. And again, the Mod Nationals in October. So making its trek back to SGMP. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Ray Williams Sr. is on. Ray's a big part of especially the bracket stuff that they're bringing over to SGMP as well. Lots and then, I mean, they've got like mud stuff. They've got no time stuff. You name it, they got it going on. We're going to be talking about it tonight. And of course, lights out. Duck X Productions, all that goodness that's known for setting records at SGMP. That's the place that they say that's where cars take flight, man. Sport about them, man. I am super, super upset to hear that you're not going to be at Sick Week. Tough deal on you, but you got to work. I mean, you got to pay bills, right? That's part of the deal. So tough deal for you. Not going to be able to see the Ute. So one for you. You can have a couple extra for us on Sick Week. Speaking of, again, that's my next deal is going to be Sick Week. So nothing next Tuesday because I'm going to be on the road. We're going to be partying. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But that said, I will stop yakking. We will get around and we will talk to Mr. Raul Torres right after we do the little countdown deal, just like so. there he is right there.
How are you, Adam?
Mr. Torres, dude, I am doing great. It's a fantastic night. I appreciate you staying up late and partying with us again on the brink of a snowstorm down
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir. Went outside about an hour ago to find snow on the ground. It's something that doesn't happen here very often, but lo and behold, it's snowing as we speak.
Yeah, and we were just talking backstage, and you were like, "I got to know what's going on 5 months in advance." And I bet on your calendar you didn't have snowstorm in January.
No, you just don't know what Mother Nature throws her way. You just gotta roll with the punches, I guess.
And that's a lot of the deal, owning the racetrack. If you haven't checked it out, check out Freedom Plus. They did a really awesome deal. It's 25 minutes of your time. I think your 6 week subscription will work to get you that. So while there's some downtime or something, if you got 25 extra minutes, go watch that. It's really, really enlightening because you and your wife you're retired. This is what your retirement is, right?
This is what the rest of our lives looks like. Everything right behind me is what I've worked for 30 years. And like you said, just to give you a backstory on that, we're fixing to retire. And about 2 years almost ago now, Ozzy Moya and I started speaking, previous owner at SGMP, and he was ready to pass the baton. Him and his wife and I and my wife have been friends for a very long time. They felt we were the right people to take on SGMP, and we worked out a deal and bought it July 31st of 23. We've had it for about 18 months now and couldn't be happier with the decision we made. And yeah, we were headed into retirement. We had sold a big business back in South Florida, our hometown. And as a matter of fact, off to my right, over here hung on the wall, there's a map of the entire country that we had mapped out. We were going to travel. We had bought a big RV, and I'd made this big list of things to do for the next 12 months as we traveled the country.
Right.
And then he decided to give me a phone call, and we started conversations. And, I knew we traveled the country and go enjoy ourselves. But at the time, we were 47 years old. And what were we going to do the rest of our lives? We had that 1 year plan, but we knew we'd come back to something.
Right.
We wanted to get away for a couple of years. And we figured, how often does a racetrack go up for sale? But most importantly, a racetrack that I'm very familiar with, an area that I'm very familiar with. I've owned the business in Valdosta for about 7 years now. And at the time, it was 5 years when Ozzy and I started speaking about the purchase of the racetrack. So South Georgia is very familiar to me. This opportunity presented itself in Oklahoma or, Washington State, I wouldn't have done it. We're from the
Right.
Southeast, and we wanted to stay here in the region. And God, so much potential at South Georgia, and we're just starting to scratch the surface with that potential. We've made
Such a storied racetrack. So many stories, and I mean, if you go back into the Wayback Machine on this thing, when I was talking with Chad Reynolds about coming to the first sick week, it was where we, and that was pre Raul kind of reign, but I was like, I want to go see SGMP, man. I mean, all those Duck X races that are down there, everyone, send their cars flying like they know how to do a sticky track.
Yeah.
I'm from a bracket race world. It's big floppy tires and low glue, and SGMP was never that. And so I was really excited to go check that out. And then again we met at sick week, and I just I was like, I think that dude's Raul Torres. I'm pretty sure. Like, hey, is that you? Can I do a quick interview? And the rest is history. Like, here we are. And sick week's getting ready to come back through for its third year in a row, the second under your reign. Mod Nationals is coming back. The first under your reign. That was my first gig with Mod Nationals, was SGMP.
Okay.
Under Ozzy, and then did the move to Bradenton, and I'm excited to come back because that was kind of my scratch the surface of this world. Justin kind of took a chance on me. Same deal. Derek Putnam said, dude, I'm just not going to be able to work this race. Can you help me out with this deal? And yeah, I owe that guy a lot, and I owe Justin a lot, and I'm really excited to come back to SGMP. And
yeah, that's
you
one of
guys,
many races coming back. Mud Motors, as you all may or may not know, is coming back in October this year, traditionally in Labor Veterans Day weekend.
right?
But because of our schedule and how full we are toward the end of the year, we compromised a bit and worked on scheduling, and we moved into October. I think it's going to be a big hit. It's going to be right after No Mercy.
Right.
So the track's not going to be abandoned. It's not going to be sitting for a month or two. And then not that it ever does anymore. We brought in 23 new events last year, and we've renewed all but one this year and brought in like an extra 5 or 6. It's a crazy schedule.
It's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are doing, and then on top of that, you added the bracket program in, pulling on all the stops. Like, let's, we're a racetrack. We're gonna do that, and then on top of that, move into a motorsports facility. Like I was saying, like you got the you got the mud pit area kind of going now. Of course, the round track exists and needs work, but yeah, I mean, that again, watch the Freedom Plus deal. 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, a tornado came through there and destroyed that place.
Yep.
And it was kind of, I mean, it was duct taped together and baling wired together, and it ran. But it was like buying an old 57 Chevy in someone's, barn. It was there. It had tires. You could call it a 57 Chevy, but it needed some spit shine and a tune up, and enter you guys, and you guys have done that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. The name says it itself. It's a motorsports park. It's not a drag strip only. It's not a dragway. It's on 350 acres right off of I-75. And what happens, Monday through Thursday when it's empty and the bills continue to come in and the electric, still has to be paid, and the water and employees and everything else, you've got to figure out what to do. It's a big overhead to run a facility like this. So the more events, the more successful events we have, the better chances are that we are in staying in business. And that's my goal, to stay around for decades to come. The Mud Park was built, and as a matter of fact, March 29th, we're going to have a truck show, row race, concert, and Mud Park event at the same time. And that's it's going to be sick. And what happens, they did a phenomenal job building this facility. It's got, let's call it 3 major entrances. And I could literally run the mud bogs, circle track, and drag strip at the same time. Have people come in and out of different exits and entrances. They don't share viewers. The stands, as you know, as you can see in my backdrop here, these are our concrete stands that face the drag strip, while the identical situation faces the west side, the circle track. So you could have fans on that side, fans on this side, and then the mud bogs over in the woods where no one's ever used, but to grow wheat. They used to hail it for hay and stuff like that, or grow it for hay. And so when I stood there and walked it, and I went before buying the place, I did my due diligence. We visited the place for almost 6 months, and I had very good ideas on what I wanted to do. So now we've got to put it to action. And then I've got to walk before I could run. There's still the suites to be rebuilt. There's plenty of things we want to do. We're nowhere near.
And I was just going to mention the suites. If you look at the background behind us, above where the seating is are all the suites, and they actually have windows out to both sides. You can see the circle track and the drag strip from those suites.
Yeah, I had the luxury of being up there, so I was a racer myself. I was a fan, as a matter of fact.
And we're I want to I mean, because you did some no time stuff. You were like a gangster.
No, I wouldn't call it a gangster. I walked in silence, and that's what you have to do in no time. We had a lot of sleepers. I buy Mustangs here and there, and we ended up with a couple. And that one there on the screen, that was called Gump, and we had it for a couple of years. And that was before Coyote, Fox bodies with Coyote motors was unpopular.
Right.
Cy Lee from Lee Tuning down in Largo, Florida, helped me put it together, and I bought it out of Oklahoma, somewhat done, but we put our touches on it, and we had a lot of fun with that car. Prior to that one, I had another Mustang with a mod motor, and went with it to Memphis when Justin Young had his first mod motor nationals. Mm-hmm. So we're at the inaugural mod motor nationals in Memphis, and that's 20 years into my racing career. You know, I've been doing it
Right.
since I was 16, 17 years old, back in Moroso Motorsports Park in Hollywood, Florida, then Palm Beach International, and Mockley, Orlando, everywhere else in between.
What got you into cars? What was your, you know, kind of like, was your dad into cars? Was he one of your buddies? What started the addiction?
So we came with our shirts on our back to this country 45 years ago. And my parents were into nothing but working, you know, as many jobs as they had to make sure my brother and I had food on the table.
Right.
But he was the one that got me into racing. I have an older brother, 4 years older than I am. And he used to street race a lot and he'd go to the track here and there. But back in Miami, street racing was very popular. It wasn't as congested. There were plenty of back roads. And we'd go street racing every weekend. And I'd sneak out at 14, 15 years old as often as I could with him. I remember a place called Saga Bay and the Bridge and 58th Street. And in Miami Lakes, we'd go 154th. So I grew up street racing with my brother. And my first car was a 1984 50 Mustang.
Okay. And what year was it that you were 14, 15 street racing? Not to age you.
1991.
So they've been that, that car, that 90-ish LX Mustang would have been. You'd have been King Ding-a-ling if you cruised around in that car.
Yeah. There were 5. It was packed into an 86. Mid 86 Ford Mustang GT that my buddy owned. And we drove her from Miami to Gainesville for a Ford Fun weekend in Gainesville one year. And to this day, I remember that trip. And I sat behind the passenger or the driver for whatever reason. And it's funny, I don't remember what I did last year with certain situations, but I remember that trip like it were yesterday.
Yep, etched into your brain. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And then you were just downhill from there. What sort of cars did you have growing up, and when did you kind of get like serious into actually racing?
Yeah, so I had Mustangs right out of high school, or right in high school. I drove a Mustang to school, first in '84, and then a '93 Mustang when I was graduating in '94. Drove it into college. Once I started working, I only went to college for 3 years. I realized it wasn't for me. I wanted to do something else. Mm-hmm. So after my junior year of college, I dropped out and I started working. At that point, I sold my Mustang. I only had one. It was that same 93 Mustang, probably sold it in 97 or 98. Got married, did the adult responsible thing, bought a house, had kids.
Had the kids, right? The white picket fence.
That's right. So racing was long gone. So I stopped racing probably in 98, 99, right before getting married. Got married in 99, bought a house at 22 years old, and we're, focused on that. And what happened is, and it's a funny story because not that I met him for the first time, but I ran into, again, the person that got the bug back into me is Pete Scalzo. Pete somehow convinced the county to lease, Miami-Dade County, to lease a piece of the property that they owned way out west near the Everglades, called, at the time, he named it County Line Driveway. So that was probably 12, 13 minutes from my house. And of course, the talk in South Florida, drag strips opening. There hasn't been one in Miami, as far as I know, ever, because the only one I knew of was in the 70s and 80s, Moroso Motorsports Park, and it closed early 90s in Pembroke Pines. Well, I lived in Broward at the time. Palm Beach or Dade County was opening 12, 13 minutes away. And we went out there just to see what it was like. And it was a packed house. Front wheel drive, rear wheel drive. This was, I want to say, in early 2000s when it opened, maybe 2000. Okay. 2002. All right. And next thing you know, I ended up buying a big block 67 Barracuda. Yeah.
Ford guy got a big block 67 Barracuda.
I love every kind of car. I could appreciate, an old Camaro.
I get it.
And this Barracuda just sounded better, to be honest with you, better than most Mustangs I've ever owned. It was a big block 383, and it was a street car, and I drove it. And of course, then we put nitrous and started racing at County Line, and it just took off from there. It really did. And of course, I found an excuse on why I had to buy a second one because it was so cheap, and convinced my wife, that this would be a good buy and a good idea.
Attaboy.
And it snowballed, Adam. When we not gave up, but when I stopped racing because of the racetrack, I had four fairly fast Mustangs that we were, racing throughout the country, all in no time. But up until I started racing no time, we'd go to NMRA, we'd go to, any event we could find that our cars would fit in, street car takeovers and anything we could find. But over the last, I'd say 10, 12 years, it was strictly no time that we ran.
And
had a
that's
lot of fun with it.
it's got that I've not seen anything like it. In that world, Florida, Georgia area, it's huge. It's huge. It's big in Texas too, but it is huge down there. Unlike anything I've ever seen, and it's its own little culture. The no time world is really, really. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and we'd go to streetcar shootouts and stuff like that, but they'd have a no time class. Whether it paid $2,500 or $5,000 or whatever the case may be. We'd find something we could fit in, and I traveled to it, and we enjoyed it. We raced. It got very competitive here toward the end. I had a big block Mustang, a small block nitrous, and then 2 turbo ones. It got a little out of control. It really did.
Right. What about No Time Overdrive? Is kind of the latest, greatest thing. Man, that stuff is wicked.
Yeah. They had it over here at No Mercy and Lights Out the last couple of events with Nate Prater, and he's running with that and doing very well. As a matter of fact, we have an anniversary race. We bought our facility July 31st. Okay. But because it's too hot in the summer, our anniversary, our yearly, purchase celebration is at the end of September as it starts to cool down in South Georgia. And this year got rained out, but I had a No Time Overdrive class in there because I thought that's an exciting class to watch as well.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. These guys with these 6R and 6L trans stuff, and even some of the 10s. God, those things are just wicked, bad, fast, and yeah, man.
Absolutely, it's a lot of fun.
It's awesome. So you, again, did a ton of no time racing and decided, okay, we're good. We got our kids in college. We're set. We should buy South Georgia Motorsports Park. Here we go.
Yeah, a lot of people thought we were crazy, but I just couldn't pass up on the opportunity. Again, how often does a racetrack go up for sale? And number one, in a region where you're willing to do a place you're familiar with, a seller you trust as a brother. So everything just fell into place. Our girls were from South Florida originally, and our girls were going to an FSU, and they still do. One's graduating this year, one's a sophomore. But that's a 7.5-hour drive, almost 8-hour drive from South Florida. We wouldn't see them as often. Well, South Georgia is an hour and a half from Tallahassee. So now not only can they help us at events, but we go down there for dinner, go watch a baseball game, a football game. It's a lot of fun. It just, everything fell into place. I've got my other business down the street. I have employees that I was able to bring in right off the bat. Everything just fell into place for me to buy this place. It was meant to be, Adam. I think I live by faith, and I have a lot of faith in the Lord, and I know it was meant to be. I found what I was born to do. I've been in many other industries. At the age of 22, I became unemployed after buying a house, got married, thought we knew exactly what we were doing, bought a house, committed to a 30-year mortgage. And next thing you know, I'm being called into the boss's office, and ping, my day's over. Right. I was doing a decent job. He says, it's not what you're doing. It's not who you are. This just isn't for you. He says, you don't understand why I'm doing this, but this is not for you. It was a law firm. I'd still be a paralegal to this day. I'd be, making copies or running to the courthouse if he hadn't done that.
Yep.
So he put me in Wade Adams put me in a very uncomfortable financial situation. And it was such a terrible feeling that I've never worked for anyone a day in my life since that day when I was 22 years old and lost my job. I knew I had to find something.
That's kind of me, but it took me a couple extra decades. 44. Working the same industry that I worked my entire adult life, in a job I was at for 11 years, 12 if you count some part-time time that I was at. And they just called me on a Friday and said, "Okay, you're done."
Terrible.
And I was like, "I guess I'm an announcer now."
Yeah.
That was March last year. I get it. Like,
Wow.
holy crap. Okay, now what do I do? Do I go work for someone again, or do I just throw my chips in on this? And I threw my chips in on this, and so far so good.
Yeah.
And I'm like I tell people a lot, I'm not getting rich, but I'm not getting poor.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that with a racetrack too. Like again, watch the Freedom Plus deal on this. And I think Josh can maybe, because he's watching, can tell us if you're watching for Sick Week, which you get a free entry if you are a Sick the Mag subscriber. Can you watch the entirety of Freedom Plus, or can you only watch Sick Week? It'd be cool if they could watch the SGMP thing as well, because we're going to be starting and finishing at SGMP. But you have to wear 35 different hats at a racetrack. You're a restaurant, you're a painter, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, 100%. So yes. So yes, a Sick the Mag subscriber is able to watch this when Sick Week is going on. So make sure you check that out. But yes, you have to wear a million hats. You're a talent agent because you have to go find people to work at your races. There is so much, and your retirement is now a 7-day-a-week job.
Absolutely, and then some. And what you're referring to, so our viewers could know, is an episode that Freedom Plus put out there. They came out for a week and spent a lot of time. As a matter of fact, it took them a good minute to put it together, and I could see why it took them the time it took them, because it was a top-notch production.
It's real good.
My wife and I were in tears when we saw it. We're very emotional about it because it spoke from the heart, and they caught everything that we envisioned or we wanted to get out there. So much so that they gave me the liberty to share it on our private I guess outlets, and we're sharing it with the county and using that as an example as to what goes on behind the scenes and why this curfew, this cloud that we got over the racetrack is important to work with, and so they knocked it out of the park. Josh came out here with his associates for a couple of Flint came out here.
Josh Flint,
for a couple of days with his associates, and they went back to the office and just spent countless hours putting it together. And truth is, when you record stuff and you give it to somebody else, or when they record you over a period of a day or 3 or 10, the editor, whoever puts it together, or the group of people that put it together, could really manipulate what they want the vision to be or the story to be. And I'll tell you, I couldn't have done it better myself had I sat down with a pen and paper and told them what to do. And I did not. I let them record whatever they wanted to record. They took in what they felt was important, and they knocked it out of the park. They knocked it out.
And a lot of the story in that is you have an 11 o'clock curfew on weekends and a 10 o'clock on weeknights.
Right.
I'm very aware of this. Bandimere Speedway, which was my home track, had similar deals once the houses kind of started encroaching a little bit, but they did exactly what you're doing. You go out to the community and you tell them, look at what we're bringing to the community. I'm hiring local contractors to help me with this, and I have local people working at the racetrack, and I'm look at all the people that are staying in the hotels and buying the fuel at the gas stations and buying the cheeseburgers and whatnot everywhere. So it's a huge deal to push that, so you can hopefully get those lifted. And again, in that documentary, you're not looking to lift. You don't want to run to 2 a.m. every night. I mean, that's going to kill you and your entire staff.
Yeah, we're neighbors, and I'm trying to share this. I can share it on my live, can I?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to share it to bring more awareness to everything you do and what we do at the racetrack. But we're neighbors. The last thing I want, Adam, is to go to Piggly Wiggly or Food Line, the supermarket, and get a stink eye from someone, or get a complaint the following morning that we kept their kids up because we ran to midnight or 1 a.m.
Right.
And that's not the case, but there are certain circumstances. If you see the picture behind me, it had just rained that afternoon. And if that's the case in the middle of a big race and you're backed up and you need to go over 20, 30 minutes, on a Friday night, it's not going to hurt anybody. Realistically, whether we shut down at 11 o'clock or 11:07 for another pair, that's not going to, mean the world's coming to an end. So there's definitely conversations that are going on, and some adjustments need to be made because we're a big asset to this community. We're going to continue to work for them and fight for this community, but they're handcuffing us to some degree. And, the city manager and I met a couple of months ago, about 2 months now, and he says, I don't know what you've done, but I've received 0 complaints in the 16 months at the time, those 16 months that I've owned it. And I says, I'm just doing what you're asking me to do, and that's it. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. If they move my curfew to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, that's what I have to do. I'm not going to go out of business. Right. So I'm very straightforward. I'm very transparent, but there's no gray area with me. It's white and black, or black and white, and you do what's right, and good things happen. And that's what's happened. We're doing what's right. We're shutting off at 11 o'clock. We do have a couple of extensions that we could use, and if I have to use them, I do. And if I don't, I don't. But I don't play sneaky. I'm very ethical. I have tons of, I just do what's right. It's not very difficult. And
Right.
They're enjoying that. They're enjoying that. They see the constant flow of traffic in the area. The last study that was done showed $22 million of revenue in the local economy, from supermarkets to hotels to restaurants.
You name it, man. Yeah. You name it. And that's awesome.
Tens of thousands of dollars every week that we have something, and as full as our schedule is, there's justification to that. And we're looking to revive that study. That's old numbers, and I don't like to share them too often because I don't have proof of that. That's what I've seen. That's what I've read, and I go off of that. But we're certainly going to spend money to have a company come out here and do an economic impact on the racetrack, and it's going to blow people away.
No, totally. And I always, on Dragon Drives especially, say at least eat one meal at a mom and pop restaurant. If you can do that in and around SGMP this year, tell your friends, please. And when you're in those establishments, let them know that you're there for the racetrack. You're racing, talk to them for 10 minutes about what Sick Week is and why you're at, SGMP and why you're driving around in their neighborhoods and whatnot. You like to talk about your car. I guarantee it. I know I shove microphones in your face and I can't shut you people up. Tell the guy at the gas station, if he asks, like, man, that's a really cool car. What are you doing? Oh, we just came from South Georgia Motorsports Park here. We're doing this and this and this. Let them know why you're in town.
Adam, there aren't many, if any, business owners in town that are against the racetrack. The reason being is it benefits them. We do shop and visit many restaurants in the area and businesses. And I've yet, in 18 months of being here, I've yet to be asked to tell my racers not to come back. On the contrary, they praise the fact that they get very busy. Several, not one, but several, both groceries and restaurant managers have told us that they order their inventory or their supplies according to our race schedule.
That is
awesome.
They
know the big ones are coming into town, and they don't want to sell out of firewood, or they don't want to run out of steak and drinks, so they order according to that.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
One of the things also I noticed in that is you were getting ready to paint the starting line.
Yes.
At the racetrack. And you mentioned in there, my dog's going nuts. I apologize. My fiance just got home, so there'll be a little bit of background noise going on for a moment. I got a puppy Belgian Malinois. She's awesome, but she's noisy. That's one of the things that you're like, I want to make sure that the pictures look crisp, they look good, they look awesome. But what surprised me is I worked at a racetrack for 1 year. This work is not for the faint of heart. It's hard. It's in the sun. It's all day long. You're getting sprayed with hot exhaust all day long and with transmission fluid, and methanol is burning your eyes. And there's literal fire next to you, and you're driving a tractor that's, a foot away from you. This is real life stuff. And it all happens really super duper fast. But meanwhile, in whatever, a day, that's junk. that paint is garbage.
Yeah.
So you're painting this stuff before races that you know is going to be turned to garbage because you want at least a couple of really good days of photographs because you care about what it looks like in those photographs for these racers.
Yeah, that response or attitude of an employee of, oh, it's going to get dirty again, just does not fly at SGMP.
Right.
We shower every day, often multiple times a day, and we're going to sweat right after we shower, and that's okay. We want this place to be as perfect as my living room at home. We're OCD, I will admit, and so is my wife, which is an asset because, we're not struggling going back and forth with, oh, that's okay, and no, it's got to be perfect. We want our 330-foot mark to be as perfect as the starting line, as the front entrance, as the bathrooms. And we've been praised for that. And it has nothing to do, well, I guess it has a little bit to do with my wife and I, but it's mostly our staff. I wish I could spend more time on the ground, but I don't. I work out of the office for the most part because I've got to make these phone calls. I've got to meet, with whether it's a company or scheduling or promoter. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. And I've got a great full-time staff that are there 5 days a week during the week, and then obviously work on weekends as well. We'll staff 30, 40 people for any one event. This weekend for Sick Week, I've got over 30 on staff. And these guys are eager to come to work, and it's fun. I've never experienced it. What happens is the majority, if not all of these guys that are staffed by us, enjoy what they're doing. Right. So they're not punching in a clock to work in a warehouse or work at, at a restaurant where they're scrubbing dishes and or waiting on tables. They're actually here because the majority have 9 to 5s. They don't work for me full time. I've got 4 full timers, including my wife and I, so it's 2 others, and then a vast majority of part timers. They're out there because they enjoy being next to the Tom Baileys and the Brett LaSalas and stuff like that. So they're going to come out here. And the truth is, if I didn't pay them, the majority of them would still come out here and volunteer.
I tell people that a lot, and don't tell the boss, but yes, I got to pay my bills. But a lot of these, if they were like, dude, I can't pay you, I would be there. Just get me there. I'll figure it out. Yeah. Again, I got bills to pay and stuff, but there's a handful that they could just say, dude, I just want you to be there. And I would do it because passion shows and game knows game follows game, Yeah. You can tell.
I'll see them get out of the truck full of paint in their pants or dragging their feet. And the minute they get into the starting line or walk into the tower for their headset, it's a different person. So I have a Gatorade or a water, and it's just a different person at the starting line or at the water box. They enjoy it. And we get caught sometimes, looking at a race that's getting off. And then it goes off, we're talking about it, and then there's people behind us waiting to be called into the water box. Oh, okay, well, let's focus again. Let's get back into it because we enjoy it as much as the next guy. Anytime there's a big grudge race at No Mercy or Lights Out and someone with a big name comes up or there's some sort of grudge race or grudge match coming up, we're at the starting line together with the other one. I'll tell someone in concessions, I'll be back because I'm on top of concessions, bathroom, front gate. I get on my scooter and I haul butt to the starting line because I want to enjoy it as much as possible.
No, totally. And I think that's what's awesome is I do a little bit of kind of recon a little bit and I see photos of what's going on and whatnot. But in that Freedom Plus deal, it was right before an ADRL event. Yes. And you guys were you were scraping the track, but you were everywhere. You were all over the place. And then they were racing and you were on the starting line. Yeah. That's again, as a track owner, typically the last place that you would see a track owner is on the starting line. The 2 people that are track owners that I see on the starting line are you and Victor Alvarez. Because you passion shows, you can't fake it. Not only are you interested in your racetrack being a success, but you're also a race fan. You're down there watching your friends do the thing. That means a ton, I think.
Absolutely. I hope it resonates well with the racers and the fans. And I have been told privately, hey, you being out here means the world to us. And I don't do it for any other reason. I don't do it for financial benefit or any recognition. I do it because I enjoy it. Right. I'm getting paid to what I used to pay to do, to enjoy what I used to pay to do.
Yep.
Every once in a while, when there's an accident or a motor blows at the top end or starting line, I think, my God, that could have been my $30,000 motor or $10,000 transmission. And I've saved a ton of money by not having these 4 race cars, but I get to enjoy it as much. Matter of fact, there's a ton of emotions that go into this. My prep specialist, Raymond Perez, has knocked it out of the park. And we're up there, and every time there's a big race, our goal is that both cars go down. And when they do, like, we're on pins and needles waiting, they get off and it goes off. If someone's trying to go 5 seconds, whether it's an import or these drag and drives, we have stake in every last pass that goes down the racetrack. If a car spins, we're like, oh, crap, it's fun. What happened? And I go up there a lot for that as well, not only for my enjoyment, but to be in tune with what's going on. He's always at the starting line or in the tower, which is a clear view of what's going on. And we've got our headsets and the radio knowing what's going on, but we're out there inspecting. 9 out of 10 times we're actually looking to see if there's anything we could catch before there's a problem. And then the other, one time we're actually looking at a race and forget about the rest of the world and we're just being gearheads. But it's been a lot of fun. And that's an understatement.
Yeah. And there's a science to prepping a racetrack as well, and especially a racetrack that has such a storied history at SGMP. A lot of people think you just spray flypaper down, and there's so much more to it. There's resins, and there's dusts, and there's drags, and there's rotators, and there's the amount of actual science that goes into prepping a racetrack is absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, these guys are like dog whisperers. Like, Raymond will speak to the track, he listens to it, and I'll tell you this, I'm in left field. I worry about the organization itself. I've got him running the track prep, and I know I could rest easy and not worry about that. I want to make sure the tractor works. I want to make sure everyone's on staff, everyone's, looking professional. So I've got another million other things to worry about. That's one less thing off my plate. And I have led him since last November is when he took, the bull by the horn. He shadowed a couple of people, and we brought in some help the first couple of months. I'll tell you, he never did this prior to me buying the racetrack.
No kidding.
No.
What did he do before?
He ran my business in Valdosta. He was my store manager at a business I've got in Valdosta.
Okay.
And he was store manager for 5 years.
So he's just a gangster. He's he's a you point and get me smart on this, and I will make it happen.
He's what you would be if a buddy of yours buys a racetrack. You're a gearhead, and he tells you, Adam, do you want to come work for me? And you're going to tell, of course I want to work.
And you don't even ask, like, what for? Like, let's go.
So he ran my store for 5 years, and it's 20 minutes down the road. And I says, look, I'm buying SGMP. Would you rather stay at the shop? Do you want to come to the racetrack? He says, you think you're going to buy a racetrack 20 minutes from my house, or actually 7 minutes from his house, 20 minutes from the store, and I'm not going to work it? You're absolutely insane.
Yeah, you're nuts, dude.
In the 6 months that I was, in my dual diligence of buying the business, he shadowed Sidney Marshall in Orlando, and then visited, behind the scenes, a couple of other racetracks. He has a great relationship with Wade over in Bradenton, and speaks to many of them throughout the country to get pointers, TVCs on a speed dial, even to this day. And these guys will tell you, a track will bite you at any given point. It's never going to be a perfect condition. As long as you give both lanes the same conditions, and then it's anyone's game. But he took the bull by the horns. I don't know what he does, how he does it, when he scrapes, when he drags. That's on him. Right. And I tell you, I will put him up against anybody at our racetrack. If you send him to, cross country to Phoenix or somewhere else, I don't know what's going to happen. But with our chemicals and our surface, and from what I understand, they all react different.
It's like I said, it's science. It's no crap science.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Sick week last year gave us the opportunity to prep ourselves. And I says, look, we've done this event, and this event with Raymond Perez. And it's up to them, really. They're the promoters. They're the ones putting it together. Prior to that, TVC used to come to South Georgia and help prep because there was never a full-time prep specialist. Sidney Marshall, and before Sidney Marshall, Wade Rich would come when he worked in Orlando and prep for No Mercy and Lights Out and Michael Hill's race. But the other, 9 months, it was just your local guy, and it wasn't exactly what it is today. And Raymond Perez will make any car, from a Pro Mod when Freedom Plus was out there to a small tire radial to anything, go down the racetrack. You know, there are plenty of challenges like rain and cold and heat that
and dew.
Yeah,
that's dew is new to me. I'm from Denver, so not dew's a thing. I had no idea.
Yeah, it'll sweat. You know, water will come from the crack and it'll sweat and it'll come up and you'll get puddles and these guys know what they're doing. And don't get me wrong, there are times in every racetrack and every event throughout the country, there are times that the track just isn't there. But it's certainly not from a lack of effort or lack of knowledge at this point from Raymond Perez. And I'm very comfortable with how he preps the racetrack and the conditions that our racers are going to get week in and week out. Testing
consistently. It doesn't, it doesn't matter what happens at this race if it doesn't happen at the next race. But, you know, like you said, this track and this conditions, you know, you could bring in any of those names, TJ Bailey or Wade Rich, or, you know, insert your guy here, you know, give him the left lane, give them the right lane, and two identical cars are going to go the same ET.
Yeah.
Which is sweet. I mean, you got to love that.
What kind of...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Interrupt, but if the race surface is not good, I can make the bathrooms look like the Taj Mahal and the food tastes like the best steakhouse in the country, but the racers are not going to be happy. Right. I'm going to make happy the wife and the kids, but the racer's not going to come back because he can't get down for the life of him. Right. So what we're doing is combining everything, making it an experience, making sure the bathrooms are spotless, making sure the front gate has a smile on their face. My daughters work the front gate. My wife works the front gate. They protect our best interest. They ask you how you are. When you leave, they wave and say, thank you for coming. Right. I mean, we cross our T's and dot our I's, and what's happened is we put everything together, and it seems like people are noticing. It's been nothing short of a blessing with the response we've had. We're giving it all we've got, but the response is there. If we're killing ourselves now for a year and a half, and we have 20 cars on a test and tune and 30 spectators, we're like, okay, why are we doing this? Why have I sacrificed the rest of my life every weekend for the rest of my life to have this kind of support? It's an uphill battle everywhere I turn, and it's the opposite. I mean, every time we open the gates, people are waiting to come in. I have to, at this point, Adam, I turn promoters away and races away. How about that? I have to turn them away. We're so blessed.
And I'm in the same boat. And you and I both, we should just like hold hands and skip through, skip through the fields over there next to SGMP. Same exact deal, man. Just a few months in, I've had to turn some stuff down. Some timing didn't work out for some other stuff. Like I won't be on 6 Summer this year, unfortunately. I did that one last year. It was awesome. The Freedom Plus team is going to be out there. Josh will be out there with those guys. But I will be at the Big Sky Race Week in Montana, and it's just timing, to be honest with you. They came to me and said, hey, can you do this week? And it was before Tom Bailey got to me. And if the money is the same, you do what you do. You know what I mean? Stevie is my fiance. She says clean track bathrooms.
Yeah. What it is, I'd go racing with buddies to certain racetracks, and I'd take my family to others. Right. And I want our racetrack to be that one that you could take your family to. The one that is not playing vulgar music, the one that there isn't marijuana and drunk people all over the place. It's just not who we are. And it's not going to happen. This is our home, Adam. This is my house, and I want you to feel welcome, but you're not going to disrespect us either.
Right. And you live here, and your friends are here. And, other people travel to where you are to do this stuff, but you want them to be also, neighborly while they're there. I get it.
And don't get me wrong, we've got a wild side, and I'm hoping tomorrow the grounds are covered in snow and we're going to go sledding off the hilltop and we're going to race hell.
Right. And hopefully you can do a little cash days. And what are you going to name this thing?
Not sure yet.
That looks like the death trap to me. I'd put Ray Williams in that if I were you.
That's sitting in the shed ready to go, waiting for sunrise.
I know you just had a big announcement. You've got some upgrades coming really soon. Tell us what's on the horizon.
there isn't much I want to review at this point as far as upgrades to the physical property, because there's a lot of things to be done before that's completed. As far as, you know, racetrack and things that are coming that are huge is a Peach State National, showcase of speed for the first time in probably a decade, and the first time ever they're coming to race here as an organization. They used to test your Top Fuel and Funny Car and Pro Stock. They used to test you on the way to Gator Nationals. For whatever reason, that's, you know, that's gone and in the past, and I'm trying to bring that back, and more so in an event similar to what it is Night Under Fire at Norwalk. I've partnered with them for this event, and Bill Bader and I have become good friends. We consult one another. It's eerie how similar we are, how similar minded we are in a lot of things, and this is what that event is going to bring to South Georgia. Those that can't make it, you know, to Gator Nationals. But most importantly, or as importantly, this is a step in the direction of, yes, having a national event at South Georgia Motorsports Park. Can we have that tomorrow? No.
I can attest, if you have never experienced Top Fuel nitro burning Hemi ever before, you do yourself a favor and make sure that you attend this. There is nothing in the world that excites every single sense you have. Your sight, your hearing, your feel. You feel these cars in your guts. Please, 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 please go and watch this if you've never seen a nitro car before. And better yet, videotape yourself experiencing it for the first time, please.
Well, to be able to bring that to South Georgia, I mean, that to me is a blessing to have the opportunity. And not only that, but we want to prove to NHRA and the world that we're capable and worthy of a national event. Do we need more stands? Do we need more accommodations? Absolutely. I'm ready, willing, and able to invest whatever it takes to have a national event at SGMP, because I know we're worthy of it. Now they've got Gator Nationals, they own Gainesville, and obviously it can't be before, it can't be right after. But with our weather in the fall, similar to what this event is scheduled in October, the weather's perfect.
It's going to be
rain here and there, like for the country. You know, it's in the 50s at night, low 70s in the afternoon. It's just perfect weather. And I think we'd be a phenomenal fit. They're very excited. For whatever reason, I've sold myself to them from the get-go. NHRA has been nothing short of huge support to our change here at SGMP, from sending equipment, the insurance, the policies. They help me with the mud bog, believe it or not. They do a lot for us behind the scenes. Yeah. So we almost couldn't get insured because of the mud bog. And 3 weeks prior to our grand opening, we still weren't insured. NHRA stepped up, did what they had to do. And to this day, we have, you know, we're fully covered at the mud bogs, and we're looking to expand that policy to the circle track as well. That's something we're going to have. So imagine not only having a successful drag strip, but once we get the mud bogs going and fluid and on a regular basis, and then a circle track. In the South, a circle track could be as profitable or as successful as a drag strip.
Oh, so easily. And I've seen that circle track up close, and I mean, it needs work, but it's there. Like the bones are there. Like it's.
And I think I owe it at this point. I think I owe it to the local community, or at least to the region, to explain why the circle track. You know, and I'm going to make a video and get it out there soon as to why it hasn't opened yet and what happens. I don't come from that world. I used to mud bog, and I've always drag raced. If I open a circle track and I could do it tomorrow, if I opened it tomorrow and I fail, you're not coming back. And I don't do anything one and done. When I do something, I'm all in. And so even 2 weeks ago, I met with a prior track manager that ran a circle track, you know, an asphalt circle track. I spoke, he was on, another guy that was on the property that day was an owner to another circle track. So I am doing things in that direction to open it back up, but I can't rush into it. And I'm certainly not going to put myself in a position where I don't know what I'm doing. You all come out, give us the opportunity. It's a disaster and you don't come back.
Do your due diligence, make sure it's going to be right. And right the first time, and then they're going to come back, and it'll only go up from there.
It's shut down for 7-8 years. That it's down another 6 months or a year, it's not going to hurt anybody. But when it comes back, I promise you, they're going to enjoy themselves.
So, dude, mud bogging. Talk to us about the mud bog and the schedule for this year.
Yeah, so what we can't do, like some other places, Redneck Yacht Club and Redneck Paychecks, and they've got 1,000 acres, right? Or 2 or 3,000 acres in the middle of nowhere, and they ride for days. Well, we're a competitive park, and that's what we've done. We've assembled a series to be able to run in a mud park. We've also got trails, we've got bounty holes, things like that, but or large bounty hole for trucks and bigger mud holes. But what this is a competitive series in the mud and in the dirt. We had, side by sides and trucks and four wheelers going 70, 80 miles an hour and 300 feet a couple of months ago in November.
Hell
So we
yeah.
got a dirt drag that's 900 feet, and we run it either 200 or 300 feet. We've got a bounty hole series where it's 8 bounty holes. Let's call them 50 feet are each hole. There's 4 in each lane. So it's heads up racing first to the finish line. And I encourage you to go back to, January or March of last year to some of our videos when we competed last year. And it was a lot of fun. Everyone that came had a good time. The problem we're having, Adam, is that our drag strip is so successful and so busy, it's hard to make time for that.
Right.
I can't spread myself too thin. We can't be in 2 places at once. Ambulances got to be over there, over here. And we just want to do it right. So we only have 4 events, and then we have a 5th one with some mega trucks this year. But what happened last year, once we got into the fall, we get busy. And so we're very busy in the spring, like this time of year, headed into the spring. Mm-hmm. We don't stop racing till May. And then, we have an event every single weekend from here to May, whether it's bracket, drifting, road racing, small tire, every single weekend. Look at that schedule. I mean, look at February. There's like 6 weekends. I don't know how we've come up with 6 weekends.
Yeah, there's only 28 days. I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, but every single weekend, we've got something going on. And it isn't, like a first off some sort of race. It's all races that are coming back next year. We weeded out some we didn't want, and they're exciting, whether it's a no-time race or a no-prep race we're going to announce here in another couple of weeks toward the end of the year. We're bringing in a very reputable, well-known no-prep promoter to South Georgia as well. We've got a phenomenal street promoter that's coming up here as well. That's on our schedule right now. I think it's on there already for December.
Let's see. December. Oh, yeah. There it is.
TRC Street Kings. They've got a couple of million followers, and they've run in Braden, first in Palm Beach for a couple of years. That closed down. Then they moved it to Bradenton, and now they're coming to South Georgia in December for their the TRC Street Kings.
There's been some cryptic PBIR posts. We'll just leave it at that.
That's right.
Follow South Georgia Motorsports Park on Facebook. It's a riot. It's a good time. Also, it's what's the website for South Georgia Motorsports Park?
Go Race SGMP.com.
Yep, GoRaceSGMP.com. All of this stuff is available on that as well. Tons and tons of info that's available. The one that's got me peaked, Raul, is Sega.
Yeah, so you and I as well. We did something different for them, and I'll tell you, Adam, I'm very excited because I had no idea what I'm embarking in, and I may not have an idea.
Dude.
We had a gasser race last year. It was a smaller organization here in the Southeast as well, and it was a good time. We had, between them and our bracket races, we had over 400 cars on the property, not as many gassers, but, a combined total of, I think, 458, I want to say. It was a very good weekend. But I've been forewarned about this, the Southeast Gassers and their organization and what they do. We met with them today. I have a podcast with them tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Cool.
They seem to have all their ducks in a row. And like you, many people are looking forward to that event, March 21st and 2nd.
Yeah, Gassers rule. If you guys don't know, follow them again on social media, etc. This is arguably the most rule-intensive gasser club in the country, and they race this junk. And I use junk because it's not junk, man. This stuff is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. They have colored windows. They do 4-gear wheelies. Absolutely awesome. That's one not to miss as well. Kind of bring you back into that kind of, 50s, 60s, old school Very, very, very cool. I'm a huge Sega kind of fanboy. Love that stuff a lot. And, of course, the Mod Nationals
Right.
making its way back to South Georgia Motorsports Park. Celsius back on board as well. And, of course, Justin Young. That thing is typically, again, on Labor Day weekend. Moving it back to October, but it's still going to be veteran-centric. There'll still be all of the same cash donations for veteran prizes are going to be happening. Just not going to be happening on Veterans Day weekend, but back at the green and blue.
It's back home, baby. It's back
That's
home.
right. That's right.
Justin and I stayed friends for a very long time. Like I mentioned earlier, I raced at the first Mod Motor Nationals in Memphis with a car I used to call. And I sold, as a matter of fact, last year when I bought the racetrack, China White. It was a 99 GT converted into a Cobra with a 4.6 twin turbo, power glide, blah, blah, blah. Ran that for many years. I had it for probably 6 or 7 years. I had a great time with it. And I ran just about every Mod Motor Nationals. And then, prior to us buying the racetrack, obviously, it went down to Bradenton. They had a good time down there. Whatever may have happened, that they're not coming back in 25. Justin picked up the phone and him and I started to talk. And I've always, in the back of my mind, and I told Victor and I told Justin as well, I'd love for Mod Motors to come back. But the last thing I want to do, and that goes for Mod Motors and any other race going on in the country, I want the best races in the country to come to South Georgia. But I'm not taking any one of them. I'm just not that guy. There's plenty to go around. I need to make sure I wake up tomorrow morning and I have a clear head and I go to bed knowing I didn't do anyone wrong. And what's meant to be ultimately is meant to be. I can only control what we do here and what I do. And we've got to put a right foot forward with everything we do, and things just happen to fall into place. And as much as I wanted Justin to come back, we never, whether Justin approached me or him, I approached him, we never had a conversation. Hey, let's get it back or let's do this. He was happy in Bradenton. Everything worked out well. But after this year, for whatever reason, they parted ways, and very cordially and in a good way. And they're still very good friends from my understanding.
Totally.
And he came up here. And I wanted to make sure Victor knows, because I want to go down there and see races. The last thing I need to do is have my picture at the front gate and say,
don't let this dude in.
Do not allow this scumbag, So no one promoter, no one race is worth that relationship with someone else at another racetrack. And I think Justin and I are a great fit. We've been promoting this race since we took it on, and we're gonna step it up here in the summer and get it out there. Hell, Raymond Perez, my prep specialist, designed the 30-mile cruise 8 years ago, whenever Justin first came to South Georgia. Justin wasn't aware. He came, as a matter of fact, he came to visit South Georgia, and I was with him when he came to visit a No Mercy. It was either No Mercy or Lights Out. Can't remember. But Justin and I hung out that weekend when he was coming from Memphis to South Georgia. Mm-hmm. And because my friend Raymond Perez, my track specialist now, lived in the area, he asked me if I could get Raymond or someone I knew in the area to design a 30-mile drive. And he came up. Yeah.
And that's one of the things you touch on in that Freedom Plus kind of special, is the sort of idea that a rising tide raises all ships. Like if you can come up with some way to do something better, then it only benefits other tracks if that can happen. Like, it's not like you're going to hold that stuff. Everyone needs to work together, because especially down there, you guys have a number of amazing top quality tracks that, people are going to have their favorites, and promoters are going to have their favorites and whatnot. But that said, if one track does better, then your track does better in the same exact process. Like if they're all professional, they all do it right, they do the right thing, everyone benefits.
I'll tell you, I'll go to theme parks and look around. We go to carnivals and get ideas. I go to other racetracks and I get ideas. If someone's out there that's perfect and doesn't have to do that and they're a genius, so be it. I'm not that guy. I'm that guy that's going to bust his butt and work 7 days a week. But you know what? I'm probably going to outsmart you at some point. And then that's what's happened. We do a lot of homework. I do a lot of studying of the industry, and social media is a powerful tool. I know exactly what's going on in the race in California without being in California,
Right.
you know? And when
Right.
I see certain setups, I'm like, whoa, that may work over here, you know? Or I see a beverage cart in Colorado. We just came from Colorado, and there was a beverage cart. And I said, I need that. I have to have that.
Right.
And so we bought 2 beverage carts for the property. Now you don't have to go to concessions. We'll come to you and sell you whatever drink you want.
Exactly. Exactly. I told you time goes by fast. We're already past an hour. It's wild. This is nuts, right?
Yeah, I tend to talk a little too much. My wife tells me.
No, it's good. I love it. This is why I do this, because really, I mean, typically we get to talk in passing. Like when we saw each other at PRI, I was like, Raul, and you're like, hey, and like, I mean, we spent less than a minute together.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of break some bread and sit for an hour or longer and get to know more what's going on.
Adam, when you're enjoying what you're doing, that's what happens, man.
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
happens.
exactly.
Time. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. When can we get out of here? We'll do No Mercy and Lights Out for 9 days straight. Are we tired? Right. Absolutely. But am I ecstatic on Sunday looking at the finals? Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
When you enjoy what you're doing, it isn't work, and that's what's happened to us.
100%. 100%. That said, I'm going to start on to my questions that I've got. If you got questions for Raul, jam them in there in the comments, and we will get those answered for you as well. But I've got to know, from your racing career, what's the one memory if someone's like, man, Raul, what was your best memory? What's the one that pops in from your racing career?
Oh God, I don't think there's one specific one. You know, we never achieved like a Wally or a big significant, $100,000 win in a bracket race or $1 million race. I mean, one that comes to mind because we're so family oriented was a little shootout put together by Tony Rayford at Palm Beach International Raceway. It was no different than the 20 other ones that we honestly won because we were pretty successful as no-time racers. And I was Grudge Racer of the Year 2 of the last, I think, 3 years that I was around racing. But if any, and they're all pretty exciting. But the 2 that would come to mind, number 1 is at Palm Beach with my girls, that they were there and we were an underdog. It was with that Mod Motor car, that 99 Fobra that we had, twin turbo, little 4.6. We were an underdog, and I like to play possum. And that's why I think we succeeded to some degree at no time, because I'm that guy that comes in out of nowhere and just cleans house. We did that in Memphis and Texas and South Carolina. We're like, oh, no bead lock. Oh, it's a street car. Oh, look, full interior and blah, blah, blah. And Mod Motor, and when that one event, my girls were there. They were into it. And in high school at the time, they were in high school. What high school girl wants to go with her dad and mother to, on a Friday and Saturday night
to a drag race?
Yeah. They've got about a million other things they'd rather be doing, but they were actually into it. They enjoyed it. And that's probably what started getting them engaged. They had so much fun that they started to travel with me on a regular basis. And now that we own this place, they work at it, obviously, and they've become very fluent in the industry. And then the second one would have to be Michael Hill's race. I was able to race here as my last event before buying the racetrack, and it was with a black car that a lot of people associate me to, which is called Black Cars Matter. And that was my last pass prior to buying the racetrack, was at SGMP at Michael Hill's race.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. You've been through a handful of vehicles. Tell me about the one that got away. What car did you sell you shouldn't have sold?
Goldilocks. I destroyed Goldilocks. Anyone in the southeastern United States would recognize it and know it. It was an 86 four-eyed Mustang owned by Dayton Milner out of Cooper Performance. And Goldilocks was exactly that. It was a gold of all colors. My God, how hideous. This is, what are we talking, a 60 Impala or what is this? But no, it was a little coupe, and it was just the right color for whatever. And I'm more of a factory color kind of guy, and I could appreciate factory colors, and I never like anything different. But this one was very well recognized, and I bought it, and we gutted it and started to build it back up. And because of the racetrack, I sold it. I said, I'm done. And what it is, Adam, I'm very cold turkey. When I'm done with something, I'm done. And that's what happened with racing. I knew, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did this, is sell everything. I knew I had to focus on the racetrack because any other distraction was going to take away with my goal. And so we sold Goldilocks. I disassembled it, started to build it. And in the middle of the purchase, I said, you know what, I can't continue to pour money into this car. It's never going to see a drag strip. So we sold it a year and a half later. I wish I would, have it here in my garage just as eye candy. But that's the one that I got rid of and I regret selling because it was such a gem.
Yeah. Those 4-ride cars. If you're going to have a Fox Mustang, make it a 4-ride car. No hate to Mr. Josh Flint, who says he needs fiber optic. I'm sure it's on the list somewhere. But yeah, no hate to you, but in my opinion, the 4-ride Fox is chef's kiss. That's my jam. I dig it. Yeah. What is your favorite racetrack that you made a pass on? I guess not including South Georgia Motorsports Park.
There's no other racetrack like South Georgia Motorsports Park. What other racetrack? What's my favorite racetrack next to South Georgia?
I mean, it's got to be like Moroso or PBIR or.
No, I'd have to say County Line Dragway because that was home. County Line Dragway has had a huge role in me getting back into this industry. Like I mentioned earlier, became an adult, got married, had kids, and it's one of those things. If you know. County Line Dragway was a hole in the wall, all asphalt. You better have TBM brakes all the way around. If not, you're going into the sand pit. Right. It was sketchy, but it was religiously every Friday and every Saturday night in South Florida.
That's awesome, dude.
That meant a lot to me.
Hell yeah. I guess I got to know, too. You go on a racetrack now, so you can't yes, let's go do this. But do you miss racing on the street a little bit?
Not at all.
No?
No, not at all. Not one bit. As I got older, I stopped racing, street racing a long time ago. It's just, again, one of those cold turkey kind of deals.
Yep.
I had a friend die in front of us. And since then, I stretched my legs one more time, and I haven't street raced since.
I kind of had the same, I did religiously. I did a lot. I paid my rent with street racing. It was a thing for sure. Yeah. And once I got it, what was funny is bracket racing. I got into bracket racing. I loved it. It was great. I could compete anytime, no matter what. And I loved it. And I just fell in love with just track racing from then on. Same deal. I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah.
Line it up with a 5/10 sportsman tree and dial in, and I can beat nearly anybody. Let's go.
Yeah. And buying this racetrack has opened that, Adam. Although I've been racing for a long time, I brought in a race director because I didn't know my left from my right when it came to bracket racing. Right. And bracket racing down here could be big. Matter of fact, we proved that this year. Our numbers are through the roof. We're ecstatic to start it off here March 1st and 2nd to start our bracket series. And in the past, I didn't know what a bracket series was. So I brought in Ray Williams out of Thomasville. He's done a phenomenal job. Our numbers are through the roof. Our support is through the roof. We've had more sponsors jump on board this year than ever. We've committed to having a banquet, buying, their tech cards for division finals, giving them cash prizes at the end.
Cool.
This place used to be jumping with bracket races, but what's happened, what I was getting at is that there's so many different facets of racing. There's people that are coming here February 8th to drift, and these guys live for that. And to be able to provide, it sounds corny, but to be able to provide that kind of enjoyment to so many different walks of life. We have a Mexican festival, every September. We have another one March 29th. They come out here and eat tacos all day and drink their beer and look at their lifted trucks and have a concert. Them guys look forward to that every year, and we've had it for 2 years now. And to be able to bring that kind of enjoyment, that's what this racetrack has done, is it's exposed me to all sorts of elements. I was on the phone with someone wanting to put up a carnival in our guest parking lot, a tent, and so be it. It brings a lot of joy. It's nice.
Hell yeah. I think you have to, especially with full-time employees, you have to have something that you can make money doing whatever. I would see Bandamere they would do driver's test or driver's training. Like they rented out the parking lot to driver's training people. So they would have a sprinkler putting water on the ground, and they would get cars sideways and whatever. Like you have to do whatever you can do because you have space and you have people who rely on you.
I was on the phone today with Moody Air Force Base. They were coming tomorrow morning for training exercises. You know what that is? An Air Force Base reaches out to me, and it's my decision if they could train at our facility or not. It's a blessing to be in this position, to be able to expose people to what they enjoy doing.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. I'm getting down to the end of my questions. These are typically kind of drag and drive type questions. I'm needing to get more overall kind of drag racing type questions because we're expanding the channel, and you're one of our first guests outside of the drag and drive type world. But the one I give you a heads up on, a race car of any time that you would like to drive and or own, if it's not the same car, which car would you like to be behind the wheel of, and which car would you maybe like in your garage?
I love to drive, and the one that came to mind is J.R. Gray's. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank here. But anyhow, God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank, which I never do on an interview, but it happens.
It happens, man.
Oh God, what was the car's name? I can't believe it. I have a piece of the car right at my facility, J.R. Gray. Rented for probably 7 or 8 years. It's a small block, no time car.
Okay.
Driven by J.R. Gray. It was the fastest small block nitrous car in the country, and you're probably searching for it right now.
Headshot.
No, far from that.
I'm looking for it now. Was it a Mustang?
Yeah, black Mustang.
J.R. Gray. I don't know. Shoot, I'm looking for it now and I can't find it.
That's incredible. 12, 15 years, no time racing. And anyhow, Josh.
Either way, yeah.
Josh is about to come up with it. But God.
Jason X.
I knew Josh would come through, or Flint would come through.
Yep.
But Jason X was notorious for about a decade. And the reason I like to drive it is because he'd go into any facility and he knew he had everyone covered if they had a small block. And it ran at the top of the game for probably 6 or 7 years. And that's something I wanted to always drive. You know, I don't come from the NHR world of top fuel and top alcohol. You probably get a lot of those answers. But
most of mine are drag and drive, to be honest, because that's kind of where we've been going. But it's where your world is, and that's where your world is, and I think that's awesome.
That car would come out and draw a crowd, and not because it was fast, because there's faster out there, but it was a small block going that fast, and it was well above, beyond its ahead of its time.
Hell yeah. I'm kind of that guy too. I'm a naturally aspirated guy in a power adder world, and I'm a stick shift guy in an automatic world. So I'm like a double, like, yeah, bad news.
Yeah.
Bad news. Josh says that purge. My last question for you, and if you got any more, throw them up there in the comments. We'll get them answered for you. Again, sick week coming through. We've got testing coming on Sunday?
No, Saturday and
Sunday. And Tom Bailey just came out with, if you're a C and a D car, which is $9.99 to $11.49 and $11.50 and slower, you can use your slips from test and tune days on the Saturday and the Sunday, I believe. Is that right? Friday, Saturday.
Your Monday test could be used as your Tuesday pass.
Correct. Right. So you guys can turn that in, get the route, and haul ass on the road right away if you want. So that'll be super awesome. I will be gathering up interviews along that route as well. I don't think the Freedom Plus guys are going to be set up yet for that, so I will make sure that we get some stuff going from that test and tune beforehand. But man, sick week coming right down the pipe, and then what's coming next in your schedule on the large side of things?
Oh, we've got, like I said, drifting February 8th, and we immediately go into Lights Out, the biggest race of the year.
Right.
Lights Out is a 9-day event. They come in the weekend before the race to set up and get the vendors. I mean, it's that busy where we can't bring them in on a Tuesday or Wednesday for a Friday, Saturday race because there would be thousands of people in the way. So right. These guys get in there Saturday, Sunday. They test on Monday, Tuesday, and a little bit on Wednesday, and go into qualifications on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then start eliminations on Saturday. We've already gone through a Lights Out. It's a hell of an experience. There's so many moving parts, a lot going on. I'd encourage, just like a sick week, a drag and drive, I'd encourage everyone to witness this. We have people from all over the country and all over the world coming to see Lights Out and No Mercy for Ducks races. It's an environment you're never going to forget. I'll tell you that.
Totally. It's entertainment. This is entertainment money right here. This is it's the same thing as going to a rock concert. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
Yeah. It's certainly a blast. There's a lot of behind the scenes going on. The tower, the timing, the communication, head of staging, communicating with rear, and we're bringing this class and that class, and we've got 16 here and 32 there. And it's amazing, Adam, to be behind the scenes now, like I've been for almost 2 years, and see. And like I said, I bought this with no intentions prior to, Ozzy and Maria contacting us to buy a racetrack. We've always been on the other side, seeing races and being part of them. But everything that goes on, like I ordered another half dozen radios and headsets because we've got, 25, 26, and it's just not enough. We've got people everywhere, 350 acres, and we could shut down our north gate because it's full of guest parking already, and go a quarter or half a mile down the road to our south parking lot, and everyone knows what's going on and security's aware. It's a big show is what it is. It's a big show.
Yep. And, it's entertainment. I mean, it really, like I said, if you go in, expect it, what's it cost to get into Lights Out?
It's $30 a day, if I'm not mistaken. Every promoter price is and that's one of my drawbacks is that I don't memorize 63.
No, I get it. But for $30,
yeah, it's like $30 a day,
and that's sun up to sundown. I mean, you could get, literally, you could get 15 hours of entertainment for $30. You're gonna have to buy food and water and whatnot. That's part of the, but where else can you get 15 hours of entertainment for $30?
That's right.
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
$2 an hour. I think we could all afford it. But more than anything, whether it's 30 or 3 or 300, I think we all, as gearheads, we all owe it to ourselves to visit an event like that or that event, and then go to a big no prep race and go to a big pro mod race and a big NHRA race once in a lifetime. Because when we're laying in our deathbed, we're not going to say, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't spend the $600 between entrance and fuel that it would have cost me to go to Lights Out 16." You're going to say, "Hey, John, remember that event, man? Oh, on the way down, we did this. And when we got there, and then remember walking the pits and meeting this guy and that guy." That's what we're going to remember when we're 80 years old. And that, John, that leads me to my next deal. Bring a friend. Bring John. Bring a guy that maybe has never been to a racetrack, to the racetrack. Explain to him kind of what's going on. Do this, do this, do this, do this. This is what's happening. That's what this class is doing. Keep them involved in it, and then they'll bring their family, or they'll bring their, they'll get it, and that's what will make this thing happen. Josh says he also digs what you're doing for the kids, getting them out to the track and racing as well. So that's what he's also very cool. We went out on the limb here last week, and we've invited every teenager that could come out here for the next 6 months and race for free. So teenagers will not pay to race at South Georgia Motorsports Park for the next 6 months at any test and tune.
That's awesome, dude. Absolutely awesome.
Yep.
VIP tent.
We also part of the VIP package for Lights Out and No Mercy is free food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Part of the VIP pass, and I'll tell you, I could eat $300 worth of food in no time. So,
Oh yeah, no, exactly. If you tell me it's free, I'm like, I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna end up being there.
3 meals a day.
I love it. I love it. My last question, again, if you got questions, throw them up there, and we will get this wrapped up. But advice for someone getting into buying a racetrack. This is something kind of weird for me that I found a racetrack up here, an abandoned racetrack, and it's not unlike South Georgia Motorsports Park. It's smaller. It's 75 acres. It's got a 3/8 paved oval on it and a drag strip on it. And I was like, I'm gonna buy that racetrack, and it fell off the wayside. But say there's someone else that's like me that knows a racetrack and maybe could buy it. What advice do you have to someone that's about to buy a racetrack?
I'd encourage them to look deep into their soul, and if they're not willing to give everything they've got to this racetrack, don't waste their time. I've never worked, and I've worked in many industries: transport, restaurants, real estate, many. I've never worked harder in my life, but I've never enjoyed doing something so much. And it stunk knowing what I was doing in the past, that I was successful at it, but I ended up selling it, and we did very well. And it's what got me to this financial position, but it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. It was just a financial decision to buy that business and grow it and do what we did. This, to me, if I cover my expenses, I'm good, because I'm having the time of my life. So my suggestion would be, if this isn't something you see yourself enjoying 7 days a week, don't waste our time, because you're going to be another statistic where it's going to close down, and that's not what we want. We need energetic, we need enthused, open-minded racetrack owners that are willing to push the envelope to continue this industry into the next century, because it's at risk with EPA and prices and Karens and everything else. It's at risk. This racetrack, or this facility, is worth a whole lot more money, like it did at Palm Beach, $78 million to a warehouse district, but I want it to be a racetrack. So if you don't have that vision, don't waste your time. There's certainly a ton of potential. There's plenty of racetracks that make good money, but it is a lot of work, and you've got to give it all you've got. And if you don't enjoy it, you're just going to shut the doors sooner rather than later.
Right. Dude, I love that. That's what a great way. And for Josh Flint, loud claps, the slow, loud, that great job, man. What a hell of a good cap to this, to this little deal. But like I said, I appreciate you coming on. This has been fun. An hour and a half just went by like that. Yeah. I feel like we could do another full one of these and still not scratch the surface.
Well, before we end, if you don't mind me interrupting, I'd like to get it out there, whether it's a one person or 10 million people that watch this. If anyone's ever not happy at my facility, call 229-896-7000. I promise them I'll make it right. That phone goes directly to me. It goes to my cell phone, and I am knee deep in everything that goes on in the facility. Our goal is that you're as happy when you leave our facility as you were when you come in. Everyone's ecstatic to go see a race, and then bathrooms are dirty, the track didn't work, the promoter was nasty, the lady at the gate was rude, and then you leave upset. I'm never coming back. Well, if that's you, call me, and I'll make sure to make it right. That's not going to happen at SGMP. You're going to leave SGMP as happy as you were when you came in.
I dig that, dude. I dig that a lot. Thank you again. This has been so much fun. I'm going to throw you in the background real quick. I'm going to say goodbye to these folks, and then I will say goodbye to you. But I get to see you this weekend. It's going to be absolutely awesome, man. Again, SGMP, the kickoff of Sick Week 2025, has been a stop on Sick Week since the start. But this is the first time I think it starts and finishes there at SGMP. So it's going to be a little bit different. It's a little bit different world. You have to park rigs now and deal with that. So that's going to be a whole different world for you as well. So good luck. It's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Raul, thank you so much. I'm going to throw him in the background. What a great show, you guys. Jason at War Performance, dude. Absolutely awesome. Steve, thank you so much for coming and checking that all out. what an awesome show. That was absolutely cool. Raul is awesome. And like I said, we could do another full one of these and still not scratch the surface of this guy. But there's, passion shows and game knows game. That's a dude that puts his money where his mouth is. And that's the kind of dude we need to have owning racetracks 100%. I mean, bar none, hands down, Raul definitely, puts his money where his mouth is. So very, very cool. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Episode 64 of That's Cool Drink. We are out of here. Next week, nothing. I'll be on Sick Week. You can see that on Freedom Plus. If you are a Sick the Mag subscriber, you get that for free. Look for an email in your email. It'll be from Cletus McFarland, I believe. Check that. It'll have a code for you. You can watch all of the entirety of Sick Week. I'll be there. Hey. And again, we're starting and finishing at SGMP. Thank you again to Raul. That was absolutely awesome. Going to be super duper cool to be back down at SGMP. And then don't forget that I will be back down again for the Spring Break Ford Nationals presented by Vengeance Clutch and the Mod Nationals presented by Suncoast, SGMP, and Celsius Energy at the SGMP facility. But that said, guys, thank you so much. Tuesday night, we're going to call it to a close here, and I will be back in a couple of weeks. Thank you guys so very, 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 very much. You will see me next on Freedom Plus, and That's Cool Drink, episode 64. We are done.